name is Lieutenant Colonel George Bivens, Deputy Commissioner of Operations with the Pennsylvania State Police. With me this afternoon is the Warren County Assistant District Attorney, Cody Brown. Michael Charles Burham, age 34, was in Warren County Jail on a $1 million bail for kidnapping, burglary, and related charges. During the late hours of Thursday, July 6th, Burham escaped from the Warren County Jail. Burham was last seen wearing a denim jacket, orange striped jumpsuit, and Crocs, but he has almost certainly changed clothing. Burham is a self-taught survivalist with military reserve experience. We believe he is prepared to survive in the woods. As previously reported, our searches have revealed small stockpiles or campsites in wooded areas. I continue to ask the residents of northwestern Pennsylvania and western New York to regularly review their doorbell and surveillance camera footage for anything they think might be helpful to the search. If there is something they have a concern about, please let us take a look. I've brought along an example of one of the helpful tips we've received in response to our requests. We consider this to be a confirmed sighting for a variety of reasons. This particular one occurred in a location south of Warren. If I can direct you over to the screen for just a minute. It's just a brief clip. This is footage from a video doorbell, and what it's going to depict, since it will happen rather quickly when I started, is an individual we believe to be Burham walking past this residence at just after 5 a.m. headed toward the woods. And he continues up that road toward the woods. I'll make that video available to you later if you'd like. So I'd like to say something to the public, particularly in the communities directly impacted by this manhunt. We and I appreciate the unwavering support we have received, even as people are concerned about their children playing outside or families that just want to live their lives. Earlier today, I was provided with a large bag of handmade thank you cards from a group of preschool kids near here. They contained handprints and messages written by the children. We put them out on a table in the command post for our people to see as they come and go from the operations center. I don't think one person has passed by that table without stopping to read a few. I want those kids and their parents to know we will absolutely do everything in our power to make sure they are safe and this ends as quickly as possible. Investigators do remain convinced that Burham remains in this general area, but as always, we are aggressively following up on all leads. We continue to refer certain leads to several out-of-state law enforcement partners. Up to this moment in time, though, none of those has been substantiated to a point where we believe it was likely Burham. We continue to ask that people nationwide familiarize themselves with the picture of Michael Burham, and please contact us if you believe you may have seen him. I also renew my request that residents check the area around their homes to make sure vehicles, sheds, their homes, and anything that might be useful to Burham is secured as well as possible. He is no doubt becoming more desperate and will attempt to acquire the things he needs to survive. I reiterate that Burham is to be considered armed and dangerous, and we ask the public not to approach him. Anyone with information is asked to contact our command post at 717-265-9650. The public is reminded that a reward totaling up to $22,000 has been offered by the United States Marshals and Crime Stoppers for information leading to the apprehension of Michael Burham. This remains a very active investigation involving in excess of 200 state, federal, and local law enforcement officers. The Pennsylvania State Police and our partners are utilizing all appropriate resources, and we are committed to the safety of the residents in the Warren County area and beyond. At this time, we are not recommending cancellation of outdoor activities. We ask that if you encounter police activity in any particular area, that you simply keep your distance and allow law enforcement teams to do their jobs. Again, anyone with information or concerns is asked to contact our command post tip line at 717-265-9650. I'd be happy to take your questions at this time.
What can you tell us about the video? Can you tell us roughly when it was taken and approximately where?
What day?
I won't tell you what day. I will tell you that it's been just within the last couple of days, and it is in an area south of the city of Warren. Really don't want to get any more specific than that. In the event that Burham is somehow able to access media reports and things, I don't want him to know exactly where cameras are that we've received information from and could potentially receive more. And I don't want him to know, because again, with the exact date and location and everything, he might know where he traveled at that particular point.
Okay.
Colonel, that video clip is relatively quick, but I'm sure you took a prolonged look at it. What are some of the other indicators that lead you guys to believe that's actually him?
There are a variety of things that we looked at. I mean, we get a number of videos in, and I would tell you that in many cases, based on that analysis, we don't believe all of those are credible, or there's some question in our mind. Without going into a lot of detail, there are a lot of things that our people, they do a detailed analysis of the video. There are other things at the scene that they look for, and all of those factors together lead us to a conclusion in this case that we believe that this is likely Burham.
Lieutenant Colonel, I spoke to Kayla Hodgkin's family, the person that is suspected of killing in May. He told me that the pictures you showed us yesterday were from when Burham was on the run for the first time. Is that true?
The pictures of the bag?
Yeah.
We believe that at least one of the bags that we have is probably from when he was on the run the first time. However, we also believe that there may have been access back to those areas since then.
So it's almost like someone, he knows that there are certain spots out there, and maybe that could be evidence that people are helping him in these check-in locations?
I don't want to speculate on how we might know that someone is helping him, but yes, he knows that there are things out there.
Rumblings about intensified searches around the Jamestown, New York area, around that area today. Can you say anything about that, or are search efforts kind of concentrated in that area of western New York?
There have been some tips received up that way, and as I said, we follow up on all of those. And so I know we get questions periodically about how can we be searching one area and simultaneously searching another if we believe he's still here. The fact that we continue to aggressively search the area that we believe he is most likely to be in does not take anything away from efforts to search where we get other investigative leads or tips, and that's what you see occurring up there.
To confirm, does he have family up in that area of Jamestown, and could they be helping him? Are you looking at them, talking to them, keeping them under surveillance?
He does have family up there, and I won't say anything beyond that.
And Lieutenant Colonel, we did notice the tracking dogs coming in from New York and what have you, some of the units we're seeing over there. Are they integrated more so into your search now? And as I know you're not going to be able to give us any specificity of areas you're searching, but is it more related, closer to the border with New York State, especially with their presence here?
New York has been involved with us from the very beginning. From the time that we took over the lead in this investigation, New York State Police offered and we accepted assistance from them. They have been part of our task force. They have had a 24/7 presence here. They've brought resources as we have requested them. We are utilizing some of their canines, and they are integrated as part of our search teams here.
But are they closer to the border with Pennsylvania?
They're integrated as part of our search teams wherever those go, whether they are a little further from the border, down around Warren, or elsewhere in the Allegheny National Forest, or when we move up toward the border for a tip or whatever. Wherever we believe we have a need for that canine, that's where they're assigned.
Lieutenant Colonel, are you still confident that he's in more rural areas, or because you're getting some doorbell video, are you thinking perhaps back toward more residential areas?
I believe that he is in I have an idea of what the geographic area that I believe he is in. Within that area is a significant amount of national forest, but also residences that, I don't believe he's sitting in one area the size of a football field and doesn't move. As he moves around, he encounters residences, businesses, those types of
Sir, you
things.
said you're not recommending people not do outdoor activities this weekend. Why would you not recommend that they refrain from it?
I'm recommending that they remain vigilant, but again, I can't tell you with certainty what that narrow area would be that we would recommend no outdoor activities, and I don't think we can lock down a significant portion of western PA and western New York without having more specific information. As I've said before, though, if I had enough information to believe that any particular area faced a specific threat, we would absolutely shut that area down to the best of our ability.
Lieutenant Colonel, when did the people whose doorbell camera this was, when did they contact you? Was it that day?
Within a very short period of time, within hours.
What was the response like?
There was a review of the video, and we certainly have had other resources brought to bear in that area.
Taking a look at this, it seems like he may have been wearing a jacket. Do you have any update on the clothing so we can get that out to the right viewers?
We are not able to make a firm determination on that clothing. We don't believe it was prison attire. It goes back to what I've been saying all along. We believe that he has changed clothing.
Is this
found his
the
personal
only
attire?
video, or are there others like this? And I know you're not gonna give us any specificity, but are there other videos like this, or is this the only one you've seen? so
We have other videos that we are reviewing at this time.
Sir, have you found his personal attire?
I'm not going to comment on what we've found.
Lieutenant, you say that he is becoming more desperate. Does that also elevate the level of danger, considering he has in the past kidnapped people in order to get away? So when you say he's desperate, are you also concerned the level of danger could be elevated as well?
I think he's desperate to survive. I think he's desperate to avoid being caught by the police. At this point, I have no other reason to believe that he poses more of a threat to the public today than he did yesterday, for example. Again, as information and tips and leads and so forth become available, or other video, that could change. Information will come across that could change. But I have no reason, again, to start advising people that we want to lock down certain areas, or that they need to be anything more than vigilant, stay clear of him, and contact law enforcement immediately if they believe they may have seen him.
And when you say armed, are you thinking gun, knife? What type of weapon when you say he could very well be armed?
Firearm.
Lieutenant Colonel, speaking to residents in Sheffield and Warren, they're concerned. If you do catch him, will he be going back to Warren County Jail?
Well, as I've addressed, it's going to depend where he is caught. So depending on the location that he's caught, he would be arraigned and potentially housed in that county's jail. If it is within Warren County, there will be a conversation with the district attorney's office, and we will weigh our options at that point, and a decision made as to how that would play out. Certainly, the county judge that would hear the case would potentially have some say in that, but we would want to have that discussion.
And staying in jail, I mean, he got more than one bed sheets, so many equipment to be able to escape. Is there any update on possible people that helped him do this? I know you said you were interviewing. Any update there?
We have interviewed, but the investigation itself of the escape is not being handled by us. It's being handled by Warren City Police, and I'll wait for them to make a determination of exactly what culpability there may have been and so forth in the jail.
Can I just clarify again, that doorbell video you say was taken within the last couple of days? You don't want to say specifically what day, but within the last couple of days?
Yes.
Lieutenant Colonel, I know you've had some sightings, obviously, and some video recordings, but have any members of your team had either suspected or confirmed sightings in Burham?
We have not had a confirmed sighting by a member of our team.
Suspected sightings?
We have had sightings that have warranted further investigation, but nothing that we have been able to substantiate at this point.
Lieutenant Colonel, to Ron's point, we did see a number of state trooper cars on the New York-Pennsylvania border. I believe Lander is where we saw them. Are you able to tell us what brought you to that particular location?
Any of those locations, again, they're driven by tips, they're driven by investigative leads. So depending on an interview that we conduct, it might generate us searching in a particular area. It may be that a resident calls and says, something suspicious occurred. I'm missing some items that should be here. I think I saw somebody run into the woods. Whatever it might be, that potentially will generate that kind of a response.
Lieutenant Colonel, just a question on the bag again. So that was discovered when he was on the run the first time?
No.
The bags that was showed yesterday, or that was?
No, that was discovered during this investigation.
But it was from when he was on the run the first time?
We believe that particular one probably was from when he was on the run the first time, as I was explaining, we believe he may have been able to access that this time.
What makes you think that it was from them?
I'm not going to go into more detail about why we believe that, but we've done a lot of investigation into the bag, the contents, and that's our conclusion at this point.
With logistics, we noticed, obviously, you're trying to get some help from, I believe it's Verizon with a trailer over there and what have you. How hard is it for your search parties to be able to communicate with command posts in this terrain? We look at our cell phones, we see like 2 bars. Are you getting some extra help now that will help you and enhance your communications and ability to connect?
There are challenges, but there's been nothing that has really interfered with any of the searches or our investigation. We have a strong radio network that we utilize. That's worked out very well. The federal agencies that are here likewise have strong radio communications. We do have partnerships with Verizon and AT&T to help us in certain areas if we need that help, particularly even over here just with boosting the volume of data that can be carried out of that command post. So we're getting our needs taken care of through a variety of communication needs, or communications methods rather, but overall we're not having significant issues.
Lieutenant Colonel, regarding the doorbell video, it strikes me, this was just in the last couple of days, last 48 hours. It's 5 a.m., granted, it's dark outside. He doesn't seem to be in much of a hurry. He's walking on a street in front of a house. Does that tell you anything about his state of mind, his urgency, his desperation? Because he didn't look like he was in a hurry.
I think what it tells us is he does prefer to travel at night. It's difficult to travel at night. It's difficult to travel quickly at night. And so that doesn't seem, given his circumstances, the amount of time he's been out, potentially in the elements, and with potentially limited food and so forth, that is not a surprise to me at all that he's moving at that pace. I think there is also a possibility that he may have a bit of an injury to his leg or ankle. You may not have seen it with the short duration of that video, but there may be a bit of a limp there as well.
What agencies are operating helicopters?
There are a number of agencies that have helicopters, PSP at a state level, and Customs and Border Patrol are the 2 primary helicopters, and we're receiving periodic support for some other agencies as well.
Are they
Lieutenant Colonel,
using
can you tell
thermal
us
cameras?
which leg he injured, and do you believe it was injured in the escape?
We believe that he did potentially have an injury during the escape.
Do you know left or right, leg/ankle?
I don't want to go further on that.
Are they using thermal cameras or?
They're using a lot of different technology.
So of course that would have possibly helped in those early morning hours.
Again, we've brought a lot of technology to bear here. Yes, sir.
Any update on the drone that was flying over jail? We've heard some speculation.
No, we've had a couple of calls on that. We have not positively identified the drone that we believe was operating at that time. Coincidentally, at other times of the day, there were other drones not far from that area that were operating. We have accounted for those, but we have not nailed that one down yet.
Lieutenant Colonel, I spoke to a gentleman earlier whose home is directly next to the jail. He said he was flying a drone on the evening of Burham's escape, and that he had spoken to police investigators and said, that was me, I was checking my gutters, but I had nothing to do with an escape. Is that true that you guys had a conversation with him, or someone from the team just to rule him out?
Yes, we have spoken to him, and we have spoken to several others. As I said, there were multiple drones in that general vicinity over the course of the afternoon and that evening.
So you guys, so it's not just one drone, then there are several?
There's one drone that we're interested in. There are others that we have identified through the course of interviews.
And you still haven't found that one drone you're interested in, you haven't found that individual?
That's correct.
Why the particular interest in that one drone? Was there something about it that
The timing of the drone the timing and the location of it make it of interest to us. And again, as I said, it may be that there's a perfectly reasonable explanation for it. We would just like to hear that.
any reason to believe his appearance has changed significantly?
No, we don't have a reason to believe that. I will tell you that we have people over here that have prepared a collage of various photos. At some point, I'll probably release that as well. But investigators are using that as they go out and interview people and follow up on tips and things.
Given the location of the video and his previous run, where he went down to South Carolina, do you have any reason to believe that he might head that general direction again?
That's always a possibility, and that's why I think I mentioned to you yesterday when we investigated a report of a potential abduction and theft of a car, we were concerned that perhaps there was a repeat of that exact same behavior. Fortunately for that gentleman, that was not the case. But as I've said, we don't rule anything out. It's possible that he would try something like that again. I believe, and our investigators believe, that he is still in this general area, and that's where we're focusing our efforts.
But sir, this has now gone on more than 7 days. The longer this goes on, is it getting more difficult, do you believe, to find this man, and is he maybe getting more and more of an advantage?
No, actually, I think he gets a disadvantage the longer this goes on. We have the ability to continue to bring in more resources as we see the need. He is trying to live in the woods, or even if he's gotten into some kind of a rough shelter, he is trying to live out there with very little or no support. That's not easy to do, and the longer time goes on, the more difficult it is for him. And our team is prepared. We're here for the long haul, and as I've said before, I am confident that we will apprehend him.
Lieutenant Colonel, you mentioned that you believe he's still in the area, and I know you don't want to tell us exactly when you guys were able to get your hands on this video. I think I heard someone throw out 48 hours. Is 48 hours, is it safe to say it was found within the last 48 hours?
I didn't confirm 48 hours. I just said within the last few days, but I really don't want to be any more specific than that.
We know last time he at least allegedly stole a vehicle. Do you have any credible either reports of attempted vehicle theft or even in the short term vehicle thefts, even if he didn't get far?
Nothing that we would attribute to him.
What's the communication going to be like as we head into the weekend for New Yorkers, for Pennsylvania residents, the press conferences?
Well, actually, that's something I had planned to speak with all of you about after this one is over and see what your preference is. I will be here. My team will be here. The search isn't stopping for the weekend. So we will be continuing to aggressively pursue all tips and leads. Whether we do a press conference or whether we simply make an announcement and do one if there's a significant development remains to be determined.
Lieutenant, going back up to the family of Kayla Hodgkin, obviously they're very scared that he might make a return and do more harm to them as well. I know a lot of the family has actually been moved out to another city across New York State. What's your message to Kayla's family as they continue to grow increasingly scared, and does that weigh on the minds of the searchers knowing there's a lot at stake here?
The searchers know there's a lot at stake regardless of what's going on with that family. Certainly we have sympathy for them, as we have sympathy for the people who are experiencing this search in their own backyards and are concerned about letting their children out or about continuing on with family activities and so forth. We are actively working. I said the New York State Police has someone embedded here 24/7. So they have full access to the information. We are working with the local police up there as well to make sure that if there is any tip or piece of threat information that they need to be aware of that we generate, that they have that immediately and could take whatever steps necessary to protect the family. So we are doing everything we possibly can at this point to apprehend him as quickly as possible and bring this to an end for that family's sake and for the community's sake here as well, and in the name of justice.
To clarify the bag that you showed us yesterday, I just want to go back on that. If it was placed there during the first manhunt, are the survival tools that you found in there any reason to believe he planned to escape to then access it during this investigation, or was it just left there while he was on the run for the first time?
I don't want to speak to any of what he may or may not have thought or what his plans were. I would tell you that, as I've said, it was located this time. We have certain things that we've been able to determine from that, and I don't think it would be appropriate for me to say anything more about it at this point.
Can you say yes or no whether he's been, you believe he might might have been in communication with any members of his family in Western New York?
I wouldn't speculate on that, sir.
Other than the limb, have you found any evidence?
I'm sorry, there's something running.
Other than the limb, have you found any other evidence that he's injured?
That seems to be the primary injury that we believe may occur, or may have occurred.
Any other piece of evidence that you've found other than the limping that, I don't know, maybe blood or something like that?
No, there's nothing else that we've determined in terms of an injury.
You mentioned earlier about following up on a potential kidnapping case. Are you also looking at any missing persons cases? In that, we may not know somebody was kidnapped.
We are looking at every report of criminal activity in this area for any type of a connection. We're working with other police departments here to vet anything that they have reported to them. Certainly there are types of criminal activity that are of more interest to us than others in terms of this investigation, but we're looking at any of it to see if it might be connected, whether it's a theft, a burglary, a break-in somewhere, a trespass through somebody's property, a stolen car, on and on. Those are all of interest to us and more.
But there's been no confirmation, you said before, that the break-ins or anything fitted within this warrant.
There is still some testing that's underway with regard to some of the break-ins. What I've said is that we have not confirmed a vehicle theft related to him.
Sir, in all this time that you've been in law enforcement, if you were in his shoes, weird question, but what would you do?
I think he needs to surrender. I wouldn't be in his shoes, but he needs to surrender. He needs to bring this to an end. Yes, he's going to face the criminal justice system, but he needs to surrender. If he doesn't, again, he risks harm to himself, and it doesn't have to happen. Okay. Thank you all.